The forest felt wrong long before the sun went down. It wasn't something I could point to at first. No broken branches, no distant howls, nothing you could name and dismiss. But the deeper we pushed into those woods, the more the air seemed to thicken, as if every breath had to be dragged through something ancient and unseen. The scent of pine hung heavy, almost sweet, but beneath it lingered a sour undercurrent of rot, like something buried too shallow and slowly remembering how to breathe. Alex joked about it, of course. He always did, said it was just the wilderness messing with our city-soft nerves. Sam laughed along, though his voice carried a tightness I hadn't heard before. I didn't laugh. I kept noticing the silence. No birds, no insects, just the dull creak of trees shifting against one another, their long skeletal limbs scratching softly in the windless dusk. By the time we set camp, the light had turned a sickly gray, bleeding out between the trunks in thin, reluctant strands. We built a fire more out of instinct than necessity, its glow pushing back the dark in a shallow, trembling circle. Beyond that, the forest pressed close, thick and watchful. I remember thinking it looked crowded out there, more as if something stood just beyond the reach of the light, waiting for us to stop looking. We ate quickly, spoke less. Even Alex ran out of jokes. The fire popped and cracked, sending sparks spiraling up into a sky we couldn't see, swallowed entirely by the canopy. Eventually, exhaustion dragged us down. We crawled into our tents, the forest settling around us like a held breath. I don't know what time it was when I woke. At first, I thought it was the cold. A sharp, needling chill had crept into my bones, pulling me up from sleep. Then I heard it, soft, distant, and unmistakable. "Mark, you awake?" It was Alex's voice. I frowned, still half dreaming, and pushed myself up on my elbows. The sound hadn't come from his tent, it had come from deeper in the woods. "Yeah," I called back, my voice rough. "What are you doing out there?" Silence followed. Thick, immediate. Then, from the same direction, closer this time, "Mark, come here a second." The tone was wrong, flat, like someone reading from memory without understanding the words. My stomach tightened. I unzipped the tent, slowly, the sound impossibly loud, and leaned out into the cold night air. The fire had burned low, its embers pulsing faintly, casting long, warped shadows between the trees. Alex's tent was still closed. "Alex," I whispered. From behind me, from somewhere near Sam's tent, came another voice. His voice. "Mark, don't." I froze, heart stuttering, caught between two directions, two identical realities that couldn't both exist. And then, from the darkness beyond the firelight, the first voice spoke again. Closer now, smiling. Morning did not bring relief. It only revealed how little of the night we had imagined. A thin, colorless light filtered through the canopy, turning the forest into a washed-out imitation of itself, as though something had drained the life from it while we slept. The fire had collapsed into a bed of gray ash, and the air carried that same cloying blend of pine and something older, something spoiled and damp that clung to the back of the throat. None of us spoke at first. Alex looked like he hadn't slept at all, his eyes ringed dark, jaw clenched so tight it twitched. Sam wouldn't meet my gaze. I didn't need to ask if they'd heard it too. The silence between us had changed, thicker now, heavier, full of things we didn't want to confirm out loud. It was Sam who finally broke. "It said my name," he murmured, voice low, almost swallowed by the trees. "From outside my tent. Sounded like you, Mark, but not right." Alex let out a humorless breath. "Yeah, same. Something calling me out there. Sounded like Sam, like he was hurt." His eyes flicked to the tree line, then quickly away. I swallowed, the memory of that voice tightening around my ribs. "We pack up. Now. We're not staying another night." No one argued. We moved quickly, hands clumsy, every snapped twig or rustle of fabric making us flinch. The forest seemed to watch us in that same suffocating quiet, as if it were aware we had noticed something we weren't supposed to. Even the light felt wrong, too dim, too diffuse, like it couldn't quite reach the ground. It was Alex who found the tracks. "Guys, look at this." He was standing just beyond the edge of camp. staring down at the soft earth. I stepped closer, braced, my stomach already tightening before I saw them. Footprints. Of a kind. They were long, too long, each impression stretched unnaturally, the heel narrow, the front splayed as if something heavy had pressed down on too many joints at once. They sank deep into the soil, deeper than any human step should, and the spacing between them was wrong, uneven, like whatever made them didn't walk so much as staggered between strides, or lurched. "They go that way," Sam said, pointing into the trees. I followed his hand and felt the blood drain from my face. The tracks didn't lead away from our camp. They circled it. Over and over. A loose wandering spiral etched into the earth, cutting between trees, brushing close to our tents, doubling back on itself in a pattern that made no sense until it did. Until I realized it wasn't wandering at all. It had been pacing, watching. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the sky, distant but growing, and for the first time I noticed how dark the clouds had become. They pressed low over the canopy, bruised and heavy, swallowing what little light remained. "We need to move," I said, my voice sharper now, brittle. "Now." The first drop of rain struck the ground between those tracks with a soft, final sound. Then the sky opened, the storm came down in a violent sheet, drenching us in seconds, turning the forest floor into slick, sucking mud. The trees groaned under the sudden weight of wind, their branches thrashing, shedding water in cold, relentless waves. Visibility collapsed into shifting gray, the world reduced to trunks and shadows, and the deafening roar of rain. We ran, not toward anything, just away. Branches clawed at our clothes, roots caught at our boots, the ground threatening to give way beneath each step. More than once I thought I heard something moving alongside us, just beyond sight, keeping pace in the storm. But every time I turned, there was nothing, only the blur of rain and the violent sway of trees. And then, through the downpour, I saw it. A shape, angular, still. "Over there," I shouted, pointing through the sheets of water. We stumbled toward it, slipping and crashing through the undergrowth, until the trees broke just enough to reveal a small clearing. In its center stood a cabin, if you could call it that. Leaning slightly, its wood darkened with age and soaked through with moss that crept up its sides like rot made visible. The windows were black, empty, watching. The door hung crooked on its hinges, shifting slightly in the wind with a slow, uneven creak that somehow carried over the storm. We hesitated only for a second. Thunder cracked overhead, close enough to shake the ground beneath us. "Inside!" Alex yelled. We rushed forward, boots splashing through mud, and pushed through the hanging door into the dim, damp interior. The storm followed us in a rush of wind and rain before the door slammed back against the frame, cutting the world outside into a muffled roar. For a moment, none of us moved. The cabin smelled worse than the forest, not just rot, something older, something that had been kept. The door shuddered once behind us, then settled into a slow, uneven sway, as though something on the other side had brushed against it and moved on. Inside, the light was dim and sour, filtered through grime-caked windows that turned the storm outside into a shifting smear of gray. The air clung to my skin, thick with the stench of damp wood, mold, and something metallic underneath. Old, stale, unmistakably familiar, in a way that made my stomach tighten. Blood. Not fresh, but never fully gone. "Jesus," Alex muttered, wiping rain from his face as he looked around. The cabin was small, but crowded in the worst way. A warped table sat at the center, its surface scarred with deep grooves that didn't look like accidents. Rusted tools lay scattered across it. Hooks, a cleaver, things I couldn't name without my mind recoiling. Along the walls hung strips of something dark and shriveled, tied with fraying twine, swaying faintly as the wind slipped through cracks in the boards. Sam stepped closer to one of them, squinting. "Is that?" "Don't," I snapped, sharper than I meant to. He froze, hand hovering inches away. A low creak rolled through the cabin, not from the door this time, but from beneath us. We all heard it. Alex looked down at the floorboards, then back at me. Tell me you heard that. Another sound followed, faint, dragging, like something shifting slowly across wood far below. There's a basement, Sam said, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to believe him, but my eyes were already searching, tracing the uneven lines of the floor until I saw it. A rectangular seam near the far wall, half hidden beneath a stained, curling rug. The three of us stood there for a long moment, listening. Nothing. Only the storm, muted now, and the quiet groan of the cabin settling around us. It could be animals, Alex said, though he didn't sound convinced. Something got in, trapped under there. Animals don't make tracks like that, I cut in. The words hung heavy between us. Sam exhaled slowly and stepped forward, nudging the rug aside with his boot. Beneath it, a wooden hatch revealed itself, its surface scratched and worn, the handle darkened with age or something else. My pulse hammered in my ears. We check, I said, though every instinct I had screamed the opposite. Quick, then we leave when the storm lets up. Alex gave a tight nod. Sam hesitated, then gripped the handle. For a second, nothing happened. Then he pulled. The hatch opened with a long, splintering groan, releasing a breath of air so foul it felt alive, rolling up from the darkness below in a wave of wet rot and iron so thick I gagged. It coated the back of my throat, filled my lungs, made my eyes water instantly. God! Alex staggered back, covering his nose, but I stepped closer. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity. Stupidity. Something else pulling at me from that black opening. There were steps leading down, narrow, crooked, disappearing into a darkness that seemed deeper than it should have been, as if it swallowed the little light that tried to touch it. And then I saw it. At the bottom, barely visible in the gloom, something pale caught the light. Not something. Many things. Shapes piled together in a way that made no sense until my mind forced it to. Long curves, jagged edges, hollow spaces where there shouldn't be. Bones. A phone buzzed suddenly in Sam's hand, loud and sharp in the suffocating silence. He flinched, nearly dropping it, then fumbled to look at the screen. No signal out here, Alex said instinctively. I know, Sam whispered, but I got something. He turned the phone toward us, the weak glow illuminating his face from below, hollowing his features. An emergency alert. The text was fragmented, struggling to load, but the words that did come through were enough. Local warning. Avoid forest sector. Wendigo sighted. The rest glitched, dissolving into static. A sound rose from the basement, soft at first, then clearer. A voice. Sam. It came from below us. Thin. Wet. Perfect. His own voice, calling him down. Sam didn't move at first. He stood there, frozen at the edge of the open hatch, the pale light of his phone trembling in his grip, while that voice, his voice, floated up from the dark below. Kate up, stretched thin and wrong, like something wearing his words without understanding how they should feel. Sam, it's cold. Help me. It sounded smaller now, weaker, hurt. Alex grabbed his shoulder. Don't you dare, he hissed, but I could see it, the fracture forming in Sam's expression, that terrible human instinct to respond, to help, to believe. The thing below knew exactly where to press. Another sound followed, softer this time. Mark, Alex, new voices, familiar ones. Perfect. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. Those weren't just imitations. They carried tone, memory, the subtle weight of people we knew, people we'd lost touch with, voices dragged up from somewhere deep and private. Back away, I said, forcing the words through clenched teeth. It's not real. The basement answered with a wet, shifting noise like something unfolding itself in the dark. Then it laughed. Not loud, not monstrous, just wrong. Too many layers folding over each other. Voices slipping out of sync as if several throats were trying to speak at once through a single broken mouth. Sam flinched, and that was enough. His foot slipped forward just an inch, heel brushing the top step. Sam! I lunged, grabbing his jacket and yanking him back just as something moved below. Fast, sudden, a blur of pale motion surging up the staircase with a speed that made no sense for its size. We slammed the hatch down together. Something hit it from beneath instantly. hard. The wood buckled, splinters cracking along the grain as a force slammed into it again and again, each impact shaking the entire cabin. The handle jerked violently in Sam's grip as he tried to hold it closed, his face contorted with panic. "It's coming through," he shouted. "Move." Alex grabbed the warp table and heaved it across the floor, its legs screeching against the boards as we shoved it over the hatch. Another impact struck from below, lifting the table an inch before it crashed back down. A thin, splintered crack split across the wood, and through it, something looked back. An eye. Too large, too sunken, ringed with gray, stretched skin that clung tight to bone. It didn't blink. It didn't need to. It just watched, unblinking, starving. Then it smiled. The crack widened as something thin and impossibly long forced its way up, fingers bending the wrong direction, joints multiplying as they pushed through the gap, grasping, searching, scraping against the floorboards with a dry, eager sound. "Go!" I shouted. We ran. The door burst open under Alex's shoulder, slamming against the outer wall as we stumbled back into the storm. Rain hit like needles, the wind howling through the trees as if the entire forest had found its voice again. Behind us, the cabin screamed. Not wood, not wind. Voices. Dozens of them, overlapping, calling our names, begging, laughing, sobbing. Every sound we trusted twisted into something hunting. We didn't stop. Branches tore at us, mud dragged at our feet, the world reduced to chaos and instinct and the deafening certainty that something was no longer confined to that cellar. Because as we ran, I heard it, not behind us, not in the cabin, but ahead. "Mark." My blood ran cold. The voice came from the trees in front of us now, guiding, coaxing, patient. I risked a glance over my shoulder. Through the storm, just for a second, I saw it emerge from the cabin's broken doorway, tall, impossibly thin, its body unfolding to its full, towering height as it stepped into the rain. Its limbs stretched too far, its head tilting at an angle no living thing could hold, and its mouth was still smiling. Waiting. Hurting. I turned forward again, lungs burning, legs failing, and realized too late we weren't escaping. We were being driven deeper into its larder.